Okay, Space Detectives, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Now, this may get a little bit complicated, but I'll try and keep it simple for you. The same UFO stroke drone has been tracking the rovers for probably up to 20 years on Mars, at least, I would say, around 20 years. How do I know that? Well, for those of you that have been paying attention to my channel, recently, I did this video a few days back, Mars Perfect UFO, spotted high above rover. Now, I'm just going to play a clip of that now. Now, this was taken last year, this image. It was taken, actually no, it was taken in 2021. So it was taken a couple of years ago by the Curiosity rover in Gale Crater. And unfortunately, this is quite small, this thing. And in this image, it's quite a long way off. I thought it was much bigger. It's in fact very hard to say how big this thing is, right? You can see it here. I'm just going to zoom in now. And it's pretty unremarkable. It's kind of a saucer-shaped object in dark mode, okay? Sometimes these are in dark mode, sometimes they're in light mode. This is the shape. It's kind of round with a wing configuration which is dead straight and is the same as this UFO here. Now, this is a video I did last year, and this particular UFO was photographed by the Spirit rover. Now, this is a much, much older image. This image was taken in 2005, right? Many, many years ago, right? So this one was taken recently, a couple of years ago. I spotted it recently this year in June. But this one was found by Quick Solutions Data, another channel who does pretty good Mars videos, right? Let me play this through a little bit. It's going to show you some clips now. As we get closer, it's the same shape and has the same wing configuration, although this one, we're seeing it from a different angle. It's swung round. We've got motion blur here on the right, which you can see quite clearly. There's this blurred area. And there's image distortion on the right side, which means it's moving from right to left. But this is upright, but it's the same object because the wing configuration is identical, right? Now, these are enhanced clips here just to show you. Now, look at the wing configuration. It's shorter on this side and longer on this side, right? This one is shorter on this side and longer on this side. This just ran the other way. So it's going the opposite direction, right? Just going to play this through a bit more. Now, what I was going to do was I was going to re-edit this video and then put some extra clips of the new one in it for you. But I thought it's easier just for me to show you these. Right? Look at the detail. Dead straight. One wing part is shorter and one part is longer. Just like this one. Let me play some of this through. And this will get closer up and we'll see some. Now this is flipped to negative just to show you the shape of it. In reality it's in dark mode like this, right? Let me go flick through a bit. There we are. This is slightly closer. If you have the hover zoom magnifier like I've got here, you can check these out for yourself, nice and close, and you can set the level of zoom on this, right? You can get this for any browser, by the way. There it is. It's the same one. Now, what does that mean? Because this is insane, right? And as I've said before in previous videos, I think that these have been tracking the rovers since they landed. And not just the recent rovers, but the older rovers, which are now defunct, like Opportunity and Spirit, right? And I have shown them near all the rovers, including Insight, and even I've shown stuff on the ground, objects on the, like weird objects on the ground, even as far back as Viking, right? I've got videos proving that the same objects can be seen on the ground, very similar objects on the ground, and we also have similar or the same flying objects in the sky above multiple rovers over multiple years, thousands of miles apart, right? This is crazy. What this means is that the same UFO, not just the same type of UFO, but this may actually be the same object, has travelled 2,300 kilometres after tracking the Spirit rover and has flown all the way to Gale Crater, right? Which is quite a long way, to over 2,000 kilometres. It's about 1,500 miles, right? Now, 2,300 kilometres is 1,429 miles. You could probably round that up to 1,430. So it's nearly 1,500 miles between the two. Now, here's a Mars map showing all the different landers and rovers that have been on Mars, going right back to some of the early ones like Viking, back in the 1970s, mid-70s, right? 1975, I think the first one was, right? Now, the Spirit rover is right over here on the right, and the Curiosity's here. The distance between those is 1,400 miles, or just over 1,400 miles, 2,300 kilometres. In sight, the drill probe is not far from Curiosity, just north of it. And then we have the other Opportunity rover right over here. So these are thousands of miles apart on the surface. And in particular, Spirit and Curiosity, 2,300 kilometres or 1,429 miles, approximately, right? Apart. So this drone or UFO has flown from near Gusev Crater, where the Spirit landed, all that way, straight here, to monitor the Curiosity rover when it landed, right? Now, I've got images of UFOs by the Curiosity rover going back since it landed. All sorts of UFOs, right? Now, some are rod-shaped, some are saucer-shaped, like this one. Some are more round, some are look like actual airplanes or aircraft with squarish wings. Some look like birds, like hawks. Some may actually be birds, but they're more likely to be bird-shaped drones, in my opinion, right? But they really look like birds of prey, some of them, hovering above the rover. I've shown these in multiple videos over the years. If you've been following my channel, you would have seen a lot of them. And in fact, you just go on my channel and just look at the UFO playlist. I've done about getting on for 90 UFO videos so far, mainly near the Curiosity rover, but also the other rovers as well. And it's insane, right? So let's get this straight. Let's get this absolutely straight. There's the distance. 2,300 kilometres is 1,429 miles, right? So look at the shape of this, right? We've got more detail here, and in fact, we've got a part sticking up. It's not just a dome, but this is probably closer. It's quite small. This is probably only less than 5 feet, I would say, in length. And this one is probably the same size. We haven't quite got as much detail. It's much further away, but I think it's probably around the same size, around 5 feet. But it could be a bit smaller and it could be a bit bigger. It's very hard to tell. Now, I'm just going to show you these clips together on the screen, and I'll point out what I'm showing you, right? Now, this is the one that was taken by the Spirit rover. Navcam, right? Navcam left. Sol 536. The actual date of the image is 2005. And then there's this one. I'll go in close for you. Look at the actual detail here, right? We have a long wing and a shorter wing, if they are wings. but it's more like a saucer-shaped object, I think. And on this one, we have exactly the same detail. We have a longer one and a shorter one with a spherical body. This has a spherical body, but we've got extra detail here. So it kind of looks a bit different, but I think it's the same thing. It's just a different angle. We're seeing part of the back here, I think, just there where my hand cursor is there. So it's more ovoid, but it's the same thing. The same wing configuration. It's in dark mode. This is at low altitude. This is right near the rover. It's coming close. I would say is probably only a couple of 100 yards away. So it's about 5 feet, maybe 6 feet long. And this one I thought initially, because of the actual image here, this is the actual image, right? It's further away, but I thought it was like really big and really high up. But this is a lot further away, but I think it's about the same size, 5 or 6 feet. But it could be as small as only 4 feet, 3 or 4 feet. So these are drone-sized UFOs, or a drone-sized UFO. It's the same one. 2005 and 2021. That's insane, right? That's 16 years between them, and it's travelled all the way from near Gusev Crater all the way to Gale Crater to track the Curiosity rover. Right? This is absolutely mental. The same object, not just the same type of object, but the actual same object, I would say. It's the same configuration. And here we have them together, right? I put them in the same clip here. So here we are. Here's the recent one near the Curiosity. Just here. Spotted recently. This one was spotted by Quick Solutions Data. Full credit to that channel. Check out that channel, actually. It's got some good stuff, good Mars stuff on it. So full credit to them for that. It's the same thing. Spotted by 2 different researchers even, right? So we have the same object, 2 different craters, nearly 1,500 miles between them, and 16 years apart. So the bottom one was taken in 2005, Gusev Crater. Top one, Gale Crater. 2,300 kilometres apart. 2005, 2021. Okay? 16 years difference. So the same object has been tracking one rover, and when that rover died years ago, 2010 or 11 I think it was, the Spirit rover, when that died, this drone got fed up and flew all the way to Gale Crater to track the newer rover. How mental is that? Just the time scale, the distance, everything is crazy. These aren't like these crappy little drones we have, which are basically just a little copter drone with a battery and you remote control it. This thing must have a power source that is absolutely insane, an alternative energy power source that just keeps it going. It probably runs on natural energy, ambient. It may run on ambient electrical energy or something like that that's just in the atmosphere. Who knows? It may run on piezo power or geo energy or solar energy. Who knows, right? But this thing's been flying around for at least 16 years because this was taken in 2005 and this was taken in 2021. This image at the top. Do we have any aircraft that can fly for that long? I don't think we do. Now, of course, it may have flown off and come back and refueled and done lots of procedures like that in between. But the fact is, it managed to fly all the way from one crater to the other, nearly 1,500 miles, to track the newer Curiosity rover. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point it appears in Gale Crater to take some close-up images and scan the Perseverance rover. So what we need to look out for is this reappearing in the future above the Perseverance rover. If it does that, that will be insane. The same UFO traveling from one area to another across the surface of Mars, thousands of miles from the Spirit to Curiosity. I've got lots and lots of these going back years and years on my channel, and I've got loads of new ones that I've shown recently. And why do I think they're tracking the rovers? Why do I think they're recording the rovers? Well, a recent one I showed, which some of you may have already seen, is this video here. Mars UFO intercepting rover radio signals, right? Now that was one I did a while back, a few months ago, and I'm just going to show you part of that now. Now this one has an aerial type thing hanging down from it, and it's completely different in shape to the one I've just shown you. It doesn't have that straight wing configuration, it's much more complex. Now there's also this image I showed in that video. Now this is one angle of it, and I did another video showing it from this angle, and then realised they were the same object with the same thing hanging down. Right, so this complex drone, or interceptor drone as I've called it, intercepting the rover signals. From this angle we can see it from the side with the aerial type thing hanging down, and from this one we're seeing it from behind, but it's the same object. Okay, same object, different angle, different day, same crater, same rover, both Curiosity rover. This is 3828, very recent. This is Sol 3406, not so recent. This is like really recent, this one, right? Like this year, this was taken. This was taken last year, this one. So this is insane. These things are coming right up to the rovers, and I think intercepting the signals they're sending back to Earth and recording everything that they've got. Now bear in mind that we are only seeing sort of downgraded images that we get from the rovers, right? There are other pieces of equipment on the rovers that don't ever show us anything, that are working in secret. They have other pieces of equipment that scan the area and probably record sound and video and stuff, which are run by the military, and we do not get to see that information, right? So they're taking really high res images, probably scanning, probably recording sound and doing all sorts of stuff on the ground, which we never get to see. And I think, from what I've uncovered in the last year or so on these UFOs, I've now come to the conclusion that the primary mission of these rovers, especially Curiosity, is not to drill in the ground and find out what sort of elements are in the rock, because they've already done all that with the much earlier missions, right? The earlier missions, going right back to 1975, have all been taking drill samples, and they know how much oxygen is there, they know how much carbon's there, they know how much water and ice is there, and we've known all this for decades. So why are they still telling us now? We've got Viking 1, Sojourner, Spirit and Opportunity both landed in 2003. That image I showed you was from 2005, a couple of years later. We had the Phoenix, then Curiosity landed, then Insight, and then obviously Perseverance. And the sample return mission will be in 2026, or if it all goes well. Now, why are they still telling us stuff we knew in the 70s? They keep telling us the same story oh, we've been drilling this hole and we found this much carbon, and we found the building blocks for possible life and all this kind of thing. They keep selling us the same stuff. We've known about the methane since the 1970s. We've known about the methane spikes. And I think they're caused by vegetation, as I've shown in some of my videos. And when the vegetation rots down at the end of the year, as it starts to get really cold, it all kind of rots down, all dies off, and outgasses all this methane. And there are these giant gourd-like things on the surface, which are hundreds of feet across, hundreds of meters across, in fact. And they look like dunes, but they're covered in ice and sand, frozen, frosty sand and dust, and they freeze over. And I've shown those. I call them the Joe fruit, the giant Joe fruit. They're enormous. They're outgassing methane, and that's what's causing the spikes. Now, NASA keeps telling us, oh, it's a mystery. The methane spikes are a mystery. We don't know what's causing it. But they know that a lot of it's coming from near Gale Crater, which is why the rovers keep landing in that sort of part of Mars, right? So they keep telling us they're there drilling and looking at the elements in the rock and all that kind of thing. But we've known all that for decades. I think the Curiosity rover and possibly the Perseverance rover were not sent there for geology primarily. That's a secondary mission, right? That's the official narrative. The unofficial narrative is they were sent there to monitor the UFOs, which they knew would come and monitor them, right? Because they must have known that the Spirit and Opportunity rovers were monitored by UFOs, right? 20 years ago. Because you can see them in the images, like I've just shown you, right? So they must have known that. And this is why, unlike the Spirit and Opportunity rovers, these rovers take, like every day, hundreds of images, a lot more images than the older rovers do, mainly because there's more data storage on board, right? Now, on a typical day, it takes dozens and dozens of images of the same bit of sky, right? And often we'll see these little UFOs appear, either black or white. They're either light, like bright, in bright mode, or they're dark, in dark mode. And if you flip through enough of these, you will find some. And occasionally you'll see that Phobos up here on the left, often above the mountain, as a little kind of smudgy white blob. Okay? But the complex shaped ones are not Phobos because they have wings and they have lots of other things sticking out of them, like aerials hanging down. Right? Now, why would both rovers take so many images of the skyline, right? Like this. And what's the point? This is the Perseverance rover. It's taken here a set here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like 5, 6, 7. There's 8 in that little mini set there. But often it'll take dozens of the same bit of sky, as if it's expecting to see something, right? Why would it do that? This is effectively film footage, movie footage. If you keep taking photographs of the same spot, it's basically animation or film footage. Now, I can't see any in this particular spot here. You can flick through these, and I'm sure if you flick through all of them, you'll find some. You'll find some more UFOs. This is why they're there. We're told they're there just to drill holes in the ground, which they do, right? But the point is, I don't think that's the primary mission at all, because we know about the geology on Mars, we know about the makeup of the atmosphere, we know all that stuff going right back to the mid-70s with Viking. So why do they keep giving us the same narrative that they're doing the same thing as they were like decades ago? because it's fake. It's a fake narrative. Doesn't mean they're not doing it, but I think it's not the primary mission. I think the primary mission of the modern rovers on Mars is actually to not only to find tech on the ground, like wreckage of some of these things, possible UFOs or military wreckage like I've shown before. I've shown things like tanks and missiles and all sorts of things on the ground, right? Wrecked. They could get a lot of information from these bits of wreckage, right? I mean, there's also all the artwork and carved heads and things that are like moai, some of them, and some of them are like mummified, actual remains of people on the ground. So you could gain a lot of information from that, right? But I think what they're really after is tech. And these probes have been monitoring the rovers since day one. And the crazy thing is, this one has travelled 2,300 kilometres from one rover, and after it died, it got fed up and thought, oh, let's go and I've had information leading me to believe there's another rover just landed in another crater. So they must have some kind of tracking system on Mars, the Martians or aliens or whoever they are. They must have known as soon as these things came in. They must have like a radar tracking system. And they sent this probe to go and check out the new rover, Curiosity rover, right? And it's been following it, and various types of probes have been spotted near the Curiosity rover, including this one, the same one, right? The same one. Absolutely insane. So it's not only proof that there's activity on Mars, but they seem to have some kind of tracking system, and they're sending the same probe from one to the other. And this same probe may even appear above Perseverance in Gale Crater as well. That would be insane, right? The same object appearing. Not only does this prove that these things are probably real, or definitely real, right? Because we have multiples of the same thing. But it also proves they have some kind of intelligent tracking system, and they're tracking on the rovers and keeping a close eye on them over decades. They're not just appearing there and again. They've been doing this all the way back. And we're probably doing it with even Viking and the early probes we sent there that landed on the ground. But there weren't that many images taken by those, so we don't know. I'd have to go through the whole lot to check the earlier ones to see if there's any similar looking things in the sky. I'll have to check all the navcam images going back to 1975. Jesus Christ. So the same object, right? What else can I say? It's mind-boggling. They've been tracking the rovers from day one, and we've seen the same objects above at least two of them here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see it above the new rover, Perseverance, and in the older Viking and Sojourner and other lander images, the same object. Right? I think I even spotted a UFO above InSight, which was actually spherical. But the detail isn't very good. I'll see if I can dig that up. But basically, it's insane. I've got so many of these that I've found. It's really hard for me to explain them all. I'll just show you a couple of them now. Here's the ones we've got here today. I'll show you full screen. And I'm just going to flick through some of the different various clips I've got. This is the one taken in 2005. Spirit rover. Gusev Crater. This is Gale Crater. 2021. Alright? 2,300 kilometres apart. This is a recent one. Sol 3591, where we have two together. This one is like a V shape, kind of wing, like a flying V, one I showed recently. And there's another thing here, but they're really far off in the distance. And this one looks like it's chasing that one or something going on there. Absolutely mental, right? There's a larger clip of that showing it in context. These are a long way off. But we often see pairs, and sometimes 3 or 4. Almost like a little flock of birds, even. Insane, right? This one looks very angular. I don't think that's a bird. That looks like that flying V thing I showed, which is mechanical, right? This one may be a geolite. Now, often this is just perfectly kind of round in shape. It's actually kind of squarish, actually, but that's partly pixelation. It's kind of a squarish circle, right? This one here. Now, Phobos often appears a bit like that, but Phobos is more of a potato shape. And Phobos appears in the sky, not below the horizon. The moon does not show below the horizon. So this is either a UFO or a geolite. This could well be a geolite. They're often roundish like this, right? And there is geological activity in this crater. This is Gale Crater again, by Curiosity rover. Because we're right next to a massive, great inactive volcano. And even inactive volcanoes still have a lot of pent-up energy in them, piezoelectric energy. Okay, so you get geolites. So some of the lights we see in Gale Crater may be geolites, right? Because we're deep in a crater next to a big, fat, dormant mountain stroke volcano, right? So there it is again, full screen. So that is very remarkable, but what's cool about it is it's below the horizon, so we can see it fairly clearly. Here's the recent one. I call this the perfect one. Perfect UFO. Gale Crater. This is a recent find. I haven't shown this before. Double streak UFO. Doesn't look much, but actually when you zoom in, this has shape to it on the end. Look, this kind of got this angled part on the end. So what's going on there, I don't know. They're not clouds, but they could be, I suppose. Very strange. 2 streaks. Now, these streaks appear quite a lot, and often those are shooting stars. If they're white, they may be shooting stars, i.e. meteors coming in and starting to burn up. But they show bright white. So that's maybe what we're looking at. Okay, here's a full screen. There's this one. Now, this is more of a blob type thing. This may be a geolite, but it seems to have some detail to it, right? It's kind of oval shape, but it seems to have a kind of almost like a spike sticking out, like a little wing sticking out or something. But it's very blurry, so this is moving quite rapidly, I would say. And in the image set it comes from, it's only in this image, it's not in the other ones. In light mode, so this may be a geolite, but not really enough detail to say with this one. It's very bright. And that isn't the sky up there. That background is actually in the crater. So that's not, we're not looking at the moon or anything. Right, because we're too deep down. And then there was this one. This one actually looks like a meteor coming in. Maybe. Very strange indeed. This is Gale Crater again. This is going back a few years, this one. Sol 2544. But I found it recently. And there's the whole image at the bottom. You can see the rover tracks here. Now, in this image, we're looking away from the mountain and looking at the edge of the crater. We're near the middle of the crater here. And that's the crater wall in the background, which is about, 40 miles away or something. It's ridiculously far away. And then we have this really large streak, a white streak, which may be a meteor. But look how kind of zigzaggy it is. Would a meteor look like that? I don't think so. A meteor, you'd have a sort of blob on the end and a long, straight line behind it. White. Not this kind of shape. This is really strange. What the hell is that? It's really odd. I'm not sure what to make of that at all. I really don't know. And this is a typical one. I've shown lots like this. Gale Crater again. This one has shape to it with an angled part on the end. Right? It's got this angle on the end. See, like a little right angled part on the end. Weird. Now, this is Sol 2544. This is the same day as this one, 2544. But this is very different in shape. This is in light mode. This one's in dark mode. But could it be the same object? It's got a weird kind of funny shape to it, like this one, but this is longer. But this is probably angled away from us or towards us, this one. Same day, but would it flip? Would it change shape that much and then flip from light mode to dark mode on the same day? Possibly. Some, I think, do. And it may, like I said before, it may be a directional change or something like that going on there that causes that change from light to dark. Insane, right? There it is again. Close up. Sol 2544. There's that one again. We've got a negative there. Okay. And there's this one. Let's flick through. Now, this one was really cool. Now, this is Sol 3703. This is much more recent, right? This is like, I think, probably this year or late last year. Right, I found it recently. This is another rod UFO. Now, the rods often come in close to the rover as well. And I've shown them come right up. They're not that big. They're literally only probably about a foot or two in length. But some of them that I've shown are really big in the distance, like huge. Like 20, 30 feet long. This is a smaller one, quite close, right? I think. And looks very similar to the rod UFOs that I showed before a few years back. So if you go on my channel and just go to the UFO playlist, you'll see all these ones in the past. And these are new finds I haven't shown before. There's the recent video I did showing 3. These 2 are the same object, one in light mode, one in dark mode. And this is a different object at the top, which is much more angular with squarish wings, rectangular wings. These are more ovoid. This is the same object here. But one's in dark mode, one's in light mode, but it's the same object on different days. Right, so they do change from light to dark mode. Don't be put off. The shape is the giveaway, right? There's that one with the rectangular wings, which I showed in that video. There's that one, 2950. And this is 2565, so there's like 400 days, like a whole year between these 2. But they're the same. Look at the shape. Look at the negative here. And then look at this one. It's the same object. A year apart. Same crater, same area. Mount Sharp in the background. This is looking away from Mount Sharp, this one. But it's the same object a year later. So we've got multiples of the same thing on Mars, and some of them show on the same day. Some of them show like months apart or years apart, and sometimes they show thousands of miles apart, following the rovers from one area to the next. Who'd ever believe it? This is a complex subject, and I've tried to keep it simple for you, so please, if you want to ask any questions, leave a comment below. I'll happily answer them. I don't know if these are actually Martian or alien, or they're not ours. I don't think they're ours. There's no way that our own military would buzz the rovers knowing the amount of cameras they've got on them, which would give a 360 view all day long on the rovers. The military would not give themselves away like that. Our military wouldn't. So these are not ours, I don't think. Right? These are either Martian or alien probes of some sort. And this proves they've been around a long time, and they've been tracking both rovers, and probably all of the rovers, going right back to 1975 with Viking. Right? Which is when I started researching Mars properly. I started a bit before that, but that's when I really got serious about it. So we have things like this on the ground. This is on Mount Sharp, this giant dome. This is about 200 feet across. Alien structure, right? This is a recent video. You can check that out. 200-foot dome. We've got giant effigies of previous leaders on Mars. This is the Mars Emperor. This is about 100 foot off the ground, by the way. This is massive. and on the end of what looks like an artificial butte or dome. Okay? Absolutely insane. It's got eye detail, nose detail, even got a beard. It's crazy. How the hell did they do that? Unbelievable, right? And this is a recent find. I haven't shown this on the video yet. Some kind of object with a handle, right? This is Perseverance rover. So there's loads of weird things on the ground. We have huge carvings of previous leaders, massive statues and things like that. We have pyramids. We have UFOs. We have weird kind of eroded objects like this, which looks like some kind of carved face. We got crazy things like this, which was a recent find. Loads of people have shown this, which I think may be some kind of millstone where perhaps flour was ground, maybe. Who knows? Very interesting, though. We have crazy things like this. This is one I showed recently. I called this the blade, part of something. This is a recent find. This is a gargoyle here on the end. You can see the teeth there. Look at the teeth down here. See the teeth? Eye there, nose there. These are ancient, right? A lot of these things are millions of years old. They're heavily eroded and hard to recognise. This is a recent find. Another one here, like a little figurine. There's that one again, closer. That's taken on a different day. This is Sol 893 Perseverance. This is Sol 890, 3 days earlier. Same object. Looks like a giant skull in this one. Look at the face detail here. Look at it. But when you look at this one, it's got this weird triangle on the side. So this is probably carved, right? And it's got some weird emblems on the side here, like a row of them, just here. Interesting, right? Look at that. Look at the face detail. So we've got crazy looking alien stuff on the ground and crazy alien stuff up in the sky. Conclusive evidence right here. This is all the evidence you need for actual alien life existing on Mars, on and above the surface. Not billions of miles, light years away or whatever, like the scientists keep telling us, there's bound to be life in the universe, but it's going to be billions of miles away. Probably the nearest, maybe 50 light years. BS, you're all talking out your ass. All these scientists, they've all been lying to us for decades. Finally, we've got some kind of disclosure happening here with UFOs on Earth. Finally. But it's twisted and manipulated. What you're getting on this channel is actual disclosure. This is real shit, okay? These are real. We have objects on the ground which show intelligent life. We have both of these on Mars. This one's in Gale Crater, the top one. This one at the bottom is in Gusev Crater, right? Thousands of miles away. Very similar. Two sarcophagi compared. That's a recent video I did showing both. Thousands of miles apart. Now, even if these were random rocks, there's no way they would match that far apart, right? So they're not random rocks. That's all the evidence you need, right? We've got skulls, we've got all sorts of crazy things on the ground. This bunker house I showed recently with an entrance and stuff here, this is totally artificial, carved into the mountain on Mount Sharp. Across the rover again. This image was taken a few years back, Sol 2948. But I spotted it this year. V-shaped UFO. This may be the one that I showed a minute ago, which was V-shaped, which was in the distance as well. So it's been spotted on multiple days, moving around, but usually too far away. And this one came in, this time it came in close on this particular day. Absolutely insane. I still cannot get over this image. The best UFO pic ever taken on Mars so far, one of them I'd say. There's been a few. The interceptor drone is also as good, I would say, because it's got real detail. Please share. I'm struggling. The algorithm hates me. Okay? Thanks for watching.